I'm Morag Myerscough and I run Studio Myerscough, and I'm a designer. I would never classify really myself as an artist. You know, I definitely like solving things. I'm very, inside me is a designer. I love information and I love interpreting that information. My mother is embroideress. And my father was a musician. And I was brought up in Holloway, actually, in a family where we always were making. And even though my dad was, the one thing I knew I didn't want to be was a classical musician, because I just thought that life was just not what I wanted. And when I used to see my mum draw, she'd draw a plant in the evening or draw something, I used to think, oh, my mum would have something physical at the end of it. I know this is terribly naive, and my dad would practice his instrument, and that would be it. But my mum had this drawing, and I think I always liked the idea of making and having things at the end of it. I went to foundation at St Martin's, and they tended to sort of slightly, I had designed the school badge or something, you know, if you had shown some sort of slight form of a design discipline, then they slightly moved you in that direction. And then when I was at the Royal College, I went to see the David Hockney exhibition, Paints a Stage, at the Haywood, and I just really wanted to do stage sets, and it was that thing about I didn't want to design the programme cover. I wanted to understand the subjects that I work on and also interpret them. This is a Gill Sands tea, but it's like a little Westie dog, so just like my dog. AHMM were approached to go for the pitch for the Barbican, and it was an architectural wayfinding project. And I was brought in very early on in that project and worked with them from the very, very beginning. So I would understand all their architectural changes that they were thinking about making, and we would discuss them. Collaboration doesn't remove individuality. There still is a thing with graphic designers that people think, oh, you are the person who does the captions, and you've got to stay in that little place over there. Because if you start suggesting over here, and then I just think, you know, I don't want to do that. I'm too old. I don't want to. Some people, I don't want to spend 9 months doing some captions. It doesn't interesting. But I think when people do captions well, it's worth them spending 9 months doing it. But I don't want to do that. You know, that's the difference. I just love, I don't know, just getting really involved in a project and people allowing me to, you know, and then you get the best out of me. Sometimes we have a lot of exhibitions to do, and sometimes we do signage, and sometimes print, less print these days. So if I use this year for an example, I'm working on a big gallery in India. We did a branding scheme for a development in Ghana. We're working on an exhibition in Birmingham, Matthew Bolton. So this is our working model for the Matthew Bolton exhibition, and we build the whole thing to scale. And it's really to actually explain to myself and also then to all the people involved how you move through the space. And I always feel that this is the easiest way to get it across. I quite like narratives, you know, I quite like a journey. I like people go on a journey in an exhibition, and I quite like people to be able to make connections. I did the Royal College of Art Great exhibition with this sort of type going in and out, wooden type, on the front a year or so ago. And Icon approached me that they wanted me to do a cover. And they wanted me to think about something that was not the same, but in the same thought process. As the big crazy exhibition I just did before Christmas, the Alan Aldridge, he's an illustrator. And I didn't know his work that well. I mean, it's quite psychedelic, quite crazy. And again, we were given all his stuff, and that's when with Avni, and there was Charlotte in the studio, and we sat down, we printed every single thing out, and we just looked at every single thing, and then we just took that type of each section of information, then thought, well, how would you feel what do you want to get when you go through this space? A typical week for me is every single day of the week, so 7 days a week. And, so I work most weekends, but I do sleep quite a lot in the weekend as well. My life and my work have always gone together. This week I was at 2 meetings, one about a property project I was working on, then one about putting big neon sculpture in somewhere else, and then I've got a little electric car, so I go around London in my little car. And then I sit at the computer. You know, my favourite thing is to be in the studio and to do work and not to be out at I don't mind meetings, but I'm not a great meeting person. I really just like working. Come here, this room is about making. It doesn't have any computers in it or presenting. So usually it's very blank in here at the moment. But these walls, if we do a presentation, we often leave them up. That is a remnant of an image over there that we did a big presentation to for 30-year anniversary for coexistence. But usually we'll have the walls full. But I think it's also important to take it down and be fresh and then have another go. So this is the studio. This is Avni. And in here, it's much more, we're on the computer, you know, it's much more working from the computer and, you know, just cutting things up. Yeah, and I draw things up on the computer. I do the artwork, and that's why when sometimes people work for me and they think they're too good to do artwork or do certain things, I always find that quite difficult, because I think that taking a project from right to the beginning and doing, you know, if we do the exhibitions, I will often artwork the captions as well. And maybe that isn't the best use of my time, but I think if you want to do a job properly, you've got to understand every aspect of that project, and so that every bit comes out. And also the other thing, when we're talking about how if I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do work or whatever, but it's so great because I don't lose time travelling, because I can get dressed and be work in 5 minutes, you know, and I don't ever come down. Somebody asked me if I ever come down in my dressing gown. No, it's very formal. I'm always dressed fully. She was meant to be pinked up, but she's still here. This is a bit strange, and we do have another one up there. So she's my friend. I know that's a bit scary. No, she's not my friend. I'm digging a grave now.